Ladies and gentlemen, we up in here. Before I get to the topic, you know I got to do community empowerment. Hey, listen. I need y'all to go to elephant.com. Elephant is spelled with an L. L-F-A-N-T. High-end clothing. Reach out to them. Let them know you're a So What Show listener. You heard about them from the So What Show. You get a 20% discount on all of their merchandise. Please support black business, right? Also, check out Arise Hospitality, right? Arise Hospitality, of course, that's, the Black Office Depot. Go support the Black Office Depot. That's what you got to do. And then there's a 30% discount on Wee Juice, right? 30% discount. Listen, like I said, I don't get paid from this. I mean, I get to drink the juice every week, but I'm not getting paid. Listen, order today and apply the code We Live, that's W-E, We Live, We Love, We Juice. Now, the last We is O-U-I, We Juice. We Live, We Love, We Juice. Get 30% off, discount, $5 per juice, man. Just support the brother. It's a good brother. I drink his stuff. It's very healthy. Also, my homeboy Kevin. Y'all got to get with Kevin, too. Listen, man, on Fridays, I'm now boxing with Kevin. Kevin got me training with this booty boxing. Trust me, you ain't doing nothing with your booty. It's definite boxing going on. Go to www.udemy.com/booty boxing. Promo code ZoWhatShow. All right, that's www.udemy.com/booty boxing. Promo code ZoWhatShow. All right, please support all of that. As a matter of fact, listen. Oh yeah, the relationship dismount is right round the corner. Y'all gotta support it. Do we have a video for that? Let's see it. Everybody knows that relationships, when they break down, can be extremely hurtful, disappointing, frustrating, and the cocoon was, the concept of it was created from a poem I wrote called The Human Chrysalis in my first book, The Rebirth of Seeds. And what I explained was, when you break up with someone, you need time and space to kind of flush out and process all of your feelings, all of your attachments, your evaluation of yourself, your evaluation of your partner, time to, almost take inventory of all of the things that you are accountable for. So in chapter 3, the cocoon is designed for you to go inside and work out these, particular problems or issues, and not only work them out, but actually take ownership of them before you jump into something else with someone else. So we wanted to create this space of healing, this space of kind of internal inventory before moving into the next situation with unresolved relationship debris. You gotta let it go. There's a better day waiting for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the building with none other than Dr. Mark Goulston, who, man, we missed him so badly last week because we did a show about assholes. And Dr. G has a new book. Y'all don't understand how important and powerful Dr. G is. Dr. G, can you explain to them a brief synopsis of your new book? Can you break that down for them?
Well, this is coming out in October. I hope you'll support it. It's called Talking to Crazy, How to Deal with the Irrational and Impossible People in Your Life. It's not really the people with a severe mental illness, although we cover that. These are the people that drive you nuts. This is your spouse. This is your kid. This is your coworker. This is your parent you got to take the car keys away from. And this is a synthesis of 30 years of my working with people like this, and I give you the best tips, and it'll bring some sanity to your life. You'll get control with these people that are out of control. So it'll be out in October. It's going to be a big push. You'll be hearing a lot more about that, and hope you'll support us, and so you can talk to Crazy better.
Man, when is the book coming out again?
I think October 21st.
And it'll be everywhere. Kindle.
Yeah, no, it'll be everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's my book, Just Listen, has been the top book from their publisher for 5 years. It still is. The publisher is something called the American Management Association. So Just Listening really did well. And what happened is people were interested in, okay, I know we need to listen, but what happens when you're listening to crazy people? And so that's why I had to write this book, which will be coming out, and we'll spend more time on it on the show when it comes out, and looking forward to taking your questions and helping all of us deal better with the crazy people in our life.
And you guys got to reach out to Dr. G and let him know that he's valuable to the show. Sometimes Dr. G is a little neurotic. He's like,
what do you mean sometimes?
Well, all the time. Am I making an impact? Am I helping? Let me know. You guys let Dr. G know, man. If he says something profound, if he makes you pause, that's what you wrote in my introduction, the foreword of the book, about pausing for a moment. I mean, if he makes you pause, make you think, make you, hesitate for a second and regroup, I mean, that's valuable. So with that said, we got more to promote. Easy Boy Web. You guys got to continue to support these brothers. Easy Boy Web, if you need a website, they did my website. And as a matter of fact, you can show them my website as an example of their work. EasyBoyWeb.com. Please go out and support black businesses. All these businesses are black business. I'm not saying don't support other businesses. I'm just saying if you can recycle your dollars, why not recycle your dollars? I mean, yeah, you could go out and buy Gucci and Louis and all the other stuff. But also, if there is high quality customer service and high quality product coming from a black owned company, then by right, you should go support them too. I'm not saying, all your dollars, but a significant portion of the dollars should be recycled. Easy Boy Web. Did we go to my page? Go back to my page really quickly. If you're looking for relationship coaching or personal coaching or anything of the sort, you need some advice to get back on track, click the coaching button on my website. And if you notice, there's coaching for single women, coaching for couples, coaching for single men, relationships. Just get at me, and trust me, man. I'm going to change your life. I've been working with some people. They've been clicking that coaching button there. Support the movement. If you need any help, just reach out to me. 9 times out of 10, I wind up doing it for free. I shouldn't have said that, but hey, people need help. I try to help. So reach out to us. Those are the companies and the businesses that I would like for you guys to support. Oh, and before we get out of here, run that Black Mastery. After the Black Mastery, going to commercial. When we come back from commercial, man, the topic, Dr. G, it is going down. We'll see y'all in a second. Zoe What Morning Show in the building. Holla.
Why is a white guy like me co-hosting a black radio show? I think toxic relationships cause you to take poorer care of yourself. That if you can recognize danger, if you can pause, if you can take some breaths, refocus, and engage, you might be able to dodge a bullet that you're going to send or coming towards you. One of the things that men don't get is that often women need to vent first to clear their mind. People call me, I haven't called me this, but people call me a people hacker. And what that means is for about 40 years, I've been hacking into people, trying to figure out what makes them tick. I started out hacking into suicidal people, getting into where they're coming from so that they would not destroy themselves. I started hacking into hostage takers, and I actually trained FBI and police how to get into their minds. Recently, I actually hacked into Steve Jobs, so I've been speaking around the world about how do you look out at the world and create a great computer company. But I'm often called on to when awful news happens, and we've had another awful shooting in South Carolina. So I've been on a number of radio shows, and now this one, my favorite one, on how do you hack hatred. And I actually wrote something, and we're going to show that up on the screen. It's at Psychology Today. And one of the things that a lot of shooters have in common is they go through this, and I think it's very relevant as we talk to the black community, and I will tell you why. But what a lot of these shooters have in common is they have some feeling of a perceived injustice. The world has done them wrong, and then they feel humiliated. And then what happens is they isolate themselves. Their imagination gets the better of them, and then they get agitated when they keep dwelling on it and dwelling on it when it's in their mind. And then there's some last straw, and the last straw may be something small. It may be a mother saying, go clean up your room, and then they kill their mother. And then often there's something that lowers the impulse control. So in the case of the shooter in South Carolina, there seems to be some indication that he was taking some sort of drugs, and drugs lower your impulse control. Now, how does this relate to the black community? The black community has felt they have lived with injustice and humiliation for decades. In fact, that's much of all they know. I think the difference why they haven't risen up as violently, even though they get angry, but as violently as some of these shooters, is they're not isolated in that. I mean, they're able to come together and talk to each other and relate to each other about real injustices. And I think what happens is when you get out of your head and you're able to talk to other people, that helps you take your finger off the trigger. But I think here's the key. The key is we need to train professional listeners who can defuse these time bombs, these shooters, because what we hear is that they all had conversations with other people, or people observed them, but people took a don't ask, don't tell approach. Because a lot of times you're afraid to talk to one of these crazy people, because what if they focus on you? What if you say something they don't like? What if they become obsessed with you? So my suggestion is find people in the community, I don't know if it's in the law enforcement community or elsewhere, who are especially skilled in talking people down from the insanity side of and enraged side of the fence to a place where they can do no harm to others and themselves, and make that a one-step mobile app. So when you see it, you press a button, you get someone to talk to this person.
You have a video? Or an article we can?
No, that may be for later about, and the top, well, I'll just segue to the topic. The topic today is watch what you say out in the world. And the reason for that, now, is that impinging on freedom of speech? Well, consider this. You have control over what you say, but you don't have control over how it's heard. And if the person who's listening to you doesn't know how to use words but offends easily, you say something that inflames them, and they don't have the words to come back with a counter F you and get that off their chest, and they can't talk, what's going to happen is it's going to go into action. And so, and what I would also say to people in terms of freedom of speech, one of the other things, and we may play the video later, is when you put stuff out there, it's forever out there, and you may feel, well, I'm just expressing my freedom of speech. Well, don't expect to get hired by a company who checks your Facebook, which they all do, and they say, this person has no judgment, this person has no restraint, this person we're not going to hire. So it may be great to be able to say what's on your mind and get it off your chest, but when it's out there, other people have the freedom to be as prejudiced and discriminating and judgmental and never hire you because of that. So it's something you've got to keep in mind.
With that said, that is our setup for today's topic. Today's topic is going to be crazy. I really want to hear from some of the callers out there, too. The number to dial is 855-878-4652. I want to know your opinion about today's topic. Again, don't say that is today's topic. The age of thought crimes, a deeper look into the limits of free speech. As is commonplace, we like to ask a bunch of questions. Is free speech a government-issued privilege or a God-given right? A lot of people want to know, how can a government legislate one's freedom of expression? Say what I want to say. Now, we all understand that if you say something, you're going to have to live with the consequences of what is said, right? A lot of people don't want to speak on religion, right? God says, don't question me. Is it God, the all-knowing, saying don't question me? Because that wouldn't make any sense. The all-knowing has all of the answers. That would be the prime entity to question. Or is it the clergy saying don't question us because we don't know? So let's make that the sin. Don't question God, which is really don't question us because we don't have the answers. Does religion prohibit freedom of speech? That's an interesting angle to take. Why is it that the clergy feel that they have to protect God's honor because you're questioning God? Right? 855-878-4652. Is the outright denunciation of religion as a fraud a type of hate crime? What are some of the most vitriolic words like fag, nigger, cunt, right? We can't say this stuff? Why? Right? Here's the thing. If we censor freedom of speech, right, are we putting ourselves in a position to also censor freedom of thought? Because thought precedes the word. So if you're always editing, how free are you? You might not. You could see this in corporate America. How many people at corporate America are holding their tongue? Because they know if I express how I really feel about a situation, my livelihood is at stake, right? I lose my job. We need to talk about the limits of freedom of speech today, and that's today's topic. Dr. G, how many people you know are probably becoming ill at work because they're holding and suppressing how they really feel, and they feel like they can't talk or can't communicate how they really feel in a, say, corporate environment, right? How does freedom of speech or the limits of it in corporate America make people sick?
Well, I think one of the direct correlations is when you're putting a lid on something that you're really frustrated, you will reach for things that give you a quick release. So I remember I came up with a tool for how to eat healthily and exercise. And here's the tool. It goes exactly to that. Take out a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of the piece of paper. On the left side, put down all the great people that when you're with, you say, this is terrific, they give me energy, I should be with them more often. But on the right side, put down all the people and all the situations that suck the life out of you. Why? Because there's research that shows that people stop taking care of themselves after they've had a close encounter of the worst kind. After you've dealt with someone who just so frustrated you and you had to keep a lid on it, guess what? You go off your diet, you don't exercise, you grab for a cigarette, and you bite into that big, juicy, fat, cholesterol-filled thing. So I think keeping a lid on these feelings, both directly and indirectly, affects your health because of the things you need to do to deal with the stress.
Wow. I mean, I was doing some research. Inclusive language. Right? Is there a language that just by definition excludes people? Just if I start talking, I start alienating, right? Can you give us an example of what inclusive language might be?
Well, what's the difference between saying to someone, and this is real, this is sort of nuance, what's the difference between saying to someone, yes, but, versus yes, and? Yes, but means everything you just said doesn't matter. Here's what you need to agree with, and you need to follow my orders. But when you're able to say yes, yes, and a way we can take that, or another direction we could take it, the other person doesn't feel like you're minimized. And there's all kinds of language like that where the other person feels included and not judged. And I will tell you, people are so starved for that. If you use inclusive language, you will watch people almost lean into you because people are starved to be included. Why? Because so many people walk around in this world, even though we're all crowded, but they walk around feeling unincluded. They feel alone. In fact, one of the radio interviews I did about the recent shooter is I said one of the ways to look at this is the revenge of the nobody. You know, and when you look around, it looks like it's why is everybody else a somebody? And you can be a somebody, and it's so easy, and I'm just a nobody. A lot of times when someone says, not only are you a nobody, but you're stupid and you're ugly and you're worthless, that can push a lot of these unstable people over the brink.
But you know what the difficult aspect of all of this is? The media, for the most part, is not a free media, right? The media is edited, the news is edited, the news is not reported, the news is created. There's always a slant, there's a stereotypical slant, there's a socioeconomic slant. So you're not getting the truth, right? So right off the bat, the media is not using inclusive language for the people who are watching it to get an understanding of what's actually happening.
Well, because the negative part of inclusiveness is that when you include someone, they relax, they lower their guard, they feel comfortable. When they feel comfortable, they don't buy. And so what the media wants to do is alarm you. It wants to agitate you. It wants to offend you, because when that happens, it knows it's going to push you to act on some sort of impulse. And then what it tries to do is direct you according to the advertisers to use that impulse to buy the stuff they're selling.
And I think what they're selling is, disagree with me if you want, is a race war. I mean, that kid came out and said it. I wanted to start a race war, right? Not only did he say, not only did he say he wanted to start a race war, but if you look at his affiliations and associations, right? We're going to pull some of that stuff out later. It's just not an accident that this guy is related to another guy who's already in trouble for something. We'll talk about that when we come back. But the race war, like, is there a movement towards martial law? Like, they understand people react from a stereotypical space, black and white thinking, right? I'm oppressed. They oppress me. They've done something else. Now I have to respond. And then the media encapsulates it that way and reports it. So there's this tension that's building, right? And I believe it's all orchestrated. We're talking about freedom of speech. Man, it's going to be crazy. Oscar Wilde, I may not agree with you, but I will defend to the death your right to make an ass of yourself. We'll be back. Freedom of speech. Holla! So what mornings?
On the street, what's it like for you in all these different settings? I think free speech is where a society is really noisy. It's not one where there's this perfect silence. It's a really noisy society where people get cross. But it's out of that noise and out of that crossness that I think you get these amazing things like books and literature and culture and cinema and friendships and just really the great things, the things that we value and cherish, that we really, really rely on and take for granted. And in fact, that's the key message, really, I think, is that we can take free speech for granted. And actually, perhaps it's a really precious thing.
I don't think hate and anything, I don't think hate should ever be protected.
But others disagree.
It should kind of be protected just so there's no limits. Because once you limit it, I think once you limit it in any way, you're going to have problems.
And some take a more realistic approach.
We do have the right to say what we want. That is a freedom that we do have. But with technology, everything being globally connected, internet virtually connected, there are going to be repercussions.
Consequences or not, free speech expert Butler Kane of West Texas A&M University says it's best to keep the language of the law more general and to avoid limiting any type of speech.
I think it's actually a little bit beneficial that something isn't specifically written in the Constitution, because then it's exceedingly difficult to change it if it needs to change.
So we're back in the building. And today's topic, again, is free speech. We got phone lines on right now. People want to chime in. But before I get to our caller who's on the line with us right now, let's welcome Uncle Bobby. Bobby Glanton-Smith back in the building. What's up, B?
Oh, man, that's good to be back.
Turn on Bobby's mic. Hold on. There it is. Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Excellent. What do you think about this topic? freedom of speech, and what are the limits of it?
Well, freedom has never been free, and there's consequences for what you say as well as what you do. And it's not just a constitutional issue, it's a universal law. So folks can say what they want. They better be ready to stand by it.
Ooh. Should that be taught? If you're going to say something, stand by it?
Well, even if it's not taught, it will be learned. As time has shown us again and again, you can say what you want to, but you better be ready to defend it.
Maybe what we got to realize is that there's a package. When you have freedom of speech, you are not free of the consequences that your speech causes. And there's consequences to any kind of speech, including speech that no one says. What was the definition that Edmund Burke says? Evil triumphs when good people do nothing, something like that.
Wow.
Or probably say nothing.
Wow.
And so you can be free to do or say anything, but you're not free from the consequences of whatever you say or do. And a lot of people will say things and they think, well, why should I have to pay the consequences? Well, because there's a connection between what you give out to the world and what the world's going to give back to you for what you gave up.
You know what? We have a Skype guest that is going to present something to us that's very, very interesting. There was a young college student, only 20-something years old. He stood out against white supremacy. He stood out against police brutality. And now he's in prison. He's locked away from speaking up. And we say, well, was he violent? Did he have a gun? Did he threaten somebody? Did he do any of these things? We have a sister who has been speaking with the brother. Let's bring the sister on. What is her name?
Talaya.
Talaya. Hey, Talaya. Welcome to the Zoe Up Morning Show. Can you, because we have a video too of the young brother speaking, and we'll play that in a second. But can you give us a blow-by-blow understanding of exactly what happened to the young brother? Give us his name and the content of the speech that landed him in prison. And nobody knows when he's going to get out. There's no, I don't know if there's a bail. I mean, there's just nothing, right? No information, the boy gone. Tell us about it.
Well, Eric Shepard was a student at BSU. I want to say that's Valdosta State University. And he was known around the campus for the rallies and the protests that and the demonstrations that he would hold on campus, speaking out against white supremacy. He was a huge supporter of those fighting for to have the Kendrick Johnson case reopened. Kendrick Johnson was the young boy, I believe he was in high school, and they found him wrapped up in a wrestling mat, and they said that it was just a freak accident. But when Kendrick Johnson's family had a private, I'm sorry, I can't think of the title, when they go through and they do another examination of the body, when they had that done by another person, they found that there was blunt trauma done to Kendrick Johnson's neck that was not an accident, which could definitely have been the cause of his death. So that particular person concluded that it was a homicide, but the case had already been closed. So because of that, Eric Shepard was a huge advocate in getting that case reopened. He showed a lot of support. He held a lot of demonstrations to try to get people to be aware of the situation. And he's and for the past, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years, he's been speaking out against racism, white supremacy. So regarding the video that I sent you, so that was just one of the many demonstrations that he held. The only difference is he and some of his supporters walked on the American flag, because in his eyes, in his opinion, the way that he justified it, he stated that white supremacy represents the American flag represents racism and white supremacy, which has plagued the entire earth. He did not step on the flag to disrespect, the military or veterans or anything like that. He was looking at the history of this country and what, in his opinion, what that flag represents and, what they've done in the name of that flag. which was to suppress not only America but the entire world. So after the demonstration, he was questioned by the police. Someone called the police and said that Eric was making threats to kill white people. But if you watch the video that I sent you, Zoe, you will notice that never, not once, did he ever threaten to shoot anyone. He didn't threaten to kill anyone. He wasn't even screaming and yelling the way that some Black liberation people do. He was talking very calmly. He was very articulate. And the white people who were in front of him that he was speaking to were understanding what he had to say. So when they had questions, he answered. And there was actually a time when they asked him, well, you know, I think they were asking him questions regarding why he stepped on the American flag. Well, and then when he gave his answer, the white kids that were standing there said, oh, okay, you're not doing it to disrespect our military. No, you're saying that racism, or the flag represents racism, white supremacy. Okay, we get it. That makes sense. So, they were agreeing with him.
So let's do this. This is a very interesting angle. Let's do this. With regards to America, we have to remember, America is the land of contradictions.
Right.
So the United States flag could represent freedom in one sense, but in the next breath, the Confederate flag that flies in South Carolina represents culture. Even though you know what that flag represents, that Confederate flag represents the side who lost in the slavery fight. So to say, okay, well, we have the right to do this. My question is, if they have the right to keep flying the flag, which is an expression, right, that it's sending a message. It might not be we want slavery back. It might just be those were the good old days. And they can put that on top of the General Lee on the Dukes of Hazzard, and we can all watch the Dukes of Hazzard, right? Is that an artistic expression? And if the brother was walking on the American flag as an artistic expression, do we now have a conundrum? Yeah? Dr. G, your thoughts? Bobby? Freez Luv just joined us. What do y'all think? And then we'll come back to Talaya.
Well, you know, in one of the prior videos, someone was saying, you know, you start restricting freedom, you know, it gets sticky. But let's throw up with the Confederate flag. Why not be able to fly a swastika anywhere you want? You know, fly it next to a state building. You know, why not? I mean, that's freedom. You have a right to a point of view. And so it's now I believe. I believe you have to do what's in the best interest of protecting people, but so you have to make sure that if you're guiding freedom of speech, that it's really doing it to help people, in which the inflammatory part of it is just too hurtful and too painful.
Wow. Bobby?
It's a waste of time, really, to try to impose your will on others, because a person of an opinion is going to retain that opinion as long as they got breath. So if they're willing to make a fuss about the Confederate flag, I appreciate the warning on a personal level, because I grew up in the South, and it's a lot easier to deal with folks when you know where they're coming from, as opposed to having to wonder about it. So if they want to fly the flag, that's all well and good. I'm about ownership at this stage of my life, and you come on my property with that Confederate flag, I'm going to set you and that flag on fire. It's that simple.
Yeah,
Freez Luv.
I just don't see. You know, you can't fly it on a state building. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, because the state building is supposed to represent all of the people. You understand? And the flag, hey, if that's your belief, if that's what you get down with, go on and wave your flag, but not on a state building, because that's not what the entire state feels about that flag. And the state building represents supposedly the entire state. It should represent the entire state, not just a portion of them.
So can you fly all the flags then? If you're going to fly one flag, fly all the flags.
Exactly. You should put that big, mighty, fine red, black, and green flag up there, too.
Right, to represent
let's fly
that.
Yeah, fly them all. And I don't think you have a roof big enough for all the flags to fly. You understand?
Right. And let me say this. Courtney Bandana on Twitter says the United States Constitution And by many state constitutions and state and federal law, the freedom of speech is not absolute. The Supreme Court of the United States has recognized several categories of speech that are excluded from the freedom, and it has recognized that governments may enact governments I done lost my space. Governments may enact reasonable time, place, and manner of restrictions on speech. Me personally, man didn't create speech. It's part of the human condition, and I don't think you should be able to legislate it, me personally. Now, I understand there's certain things that could be said or certain things that can incite things. This is why I respect Farrakhan, because he had a sit down with Attila Shabazz, which is Malcolm X's oldest daughter, and he acknowledged, I said something that may have set things in motion that, ended up killing your father. He acknowledged that. So now we're back to the conversation of consequence of what you say. I don't think you should limit speech, but I think you should educate consequence.
Correct. I agree.
So here we go. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be back. Freedom of speech show. You can't say that shit.
If I were to tell you that you just earlier, you didn't even realize that you used a word that's offensive that you shouldn't be saying.
Oh, I did?
You did.
What word?
Well, it offended me, and I'll tell you why. Insane.
Crazy. Yeah, you can say crazy.
Insane. These are from U of M.
Yeah, you can say insane, I'm with me.
Retarded.
Agreed.
Illegal alien.
Agreed.
Even my iPhone's frozen. It's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that's offensive. I wouldn't say it.
So you're not even clear on it anymore. Fag.
Illegal alien.
Fag.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Ghetto.
Agreed.
Ghetto.
Yep.
Ghetto.
Not ghetto. Yeah, you could say ghetto.
Obviously, you're an African-American gentleman. If you read this...
Well, I can say myself
Negro. Negro? Good Lord. If I said that, I would have imagined you punched me right in the face.
No. Well, one's thoughts and opinions does not have to be one's reality, right?
Even that professor was offended by today's politically correct term in African-American, which means, who knows, maybe in 10 years, that'll be hate speech. Help! Help! I'm being repressed! Which reminds me, when looking at this list of unacceptable words, did anyone else find a glaring mistake? Picture the most prejudiced, racist, harming word.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it though.
As far as a racial discriminatory slur.
The N-word?
No, but it's not on there.
Yeah, you're right.
But you're not gonna say it.
No.
Now, why is it that you just said fag, ghetto, retarded, raghead, but the N-word? What's the word?
I'm not gonna say it.
So even though the campus tries to act as though words like crazy or tranny are as offensive, they won't even write, let alone think of saying the word n***.
At Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, a student employee was found guilty of racial harassment for publicly reading a book that some of his fellow employees found offensive. The book was Notre Dame versus the Klan, and it was available in the school's library. It recounted and celebrated the defeat of the Ku Klux Klan when its members marched on Notre Dame in 1924. So what did the university find offensive? The photo on the book's cover. At the University of Delaware, students were forced to undergo ideological re-education as part of the university's compulsory student orientation program. The program was described as treatment for students with incorrect attitudes and beliefs. Students were taught to adopt highly specific, university-approved views on politics, race, sexuality, sociology, moral philosophy, and environmentalism. They were also required to attend one-on-one meetings with their resident assistants, where they were compelled to answer intrusive, probing, and utterly irrelevant personal questions such as, when did you discover your sexual identity?
The meaning for the stepping on the flag was that that flag represents white supremacy, racism, which is plaguing the entire earth, you see? So when we step on that flag, we're stepping on racism, white supremacy. We're stepping on those things that mean that were erected alongside our genocide and our Holocaust. We're releasing those chains from our mental capacity and from our physical capacity. That actually makes sense. You see?
So you're not stepping on the people who are serving. You're not spitting on the people who are serving overseas at all.
You're spitting on the idea of the...
Roxanne?
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's why I came and asked.
Right, and I'm glad you all came and asked because I'm sure the white media put it forth that I am a terrorist, and indeed I am. I'm a terrorist towards lies. I'm a terrorist towards liars. I'm a terrorist towards those who are wicked. So yes, I am a terrorist towards white people. You see?
So again, freedom of speech is directly connected to freedom of thought. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of thinking, all go hand in hand. You saw how they broke down what the university approved in different fields, in different ideological fields, whether it was agriculture, whether it was philosophy. Again, freedom of speech is freedom, exactly, talking to crazy people. Freedom of speech is really about you can say whatever you want within the construct of approved ideas that we approve. Now, when you step outside of those approved concepts and ideas, and you start talking against the ideas we have approved for your mental consumption, your ass is in trouble. Bobby?
I'm going to stay in trouble then. And, that's all right, because I'm going to say it one more time. Freedom has never been free. There's always been consequences for the exercising of your rights. And the people that don't believe that are the ones who end up subjugated to the whims and the will of the folks who are willing to defend their definition of freedom. I got the same right to defend my definition of freedom as they do. The minute I acquiesce to them, I really can't complain, because they don't have more right than I do to define what freedom is.
Ooh. Doc, you got something? Go ahead, ask a question.
No, I'm trying to think of, I don't know why the word responsibility comes up. Do you think, okay, hypothetically we should all have freedom. Hypothetically, do we all have responsibilities? I mean, what do you think? Oh, no, I don't have to have any I just want freedom, but I have no responsibilities to anyone, anywhere. I mean, if you're part of the human race and you have to live with other human beings, do you have a responsibility? No, don't give me any responsibilities. That's going to cramp my freedom.
No, this is good.
But what do you? The word just comes to me.
It's the same thing that I'm talking to my eldest son about. I say, okay, at home, you feel constrained by my rules, by what I got to say, and now you're in college and you are experiencing a new level of freedom. And the first thing I said to him was, freedom does require responsibility, because too much freedom can overwhelm you, because you ain't never been in a situation where I can do this, I can go there, and then when you find out that you're involved in too many things, it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to come back to a space, you understand, where I have some boundaries.
Play with this. Maybe the word is rights and responsibilities, because especially when you're talking about teaching your kids, because when someone says, I have the right to this, I think what they're saying is, I have the freedom to do this. This is my right, but do along with rights, are there responsibilities? And if you don't live up to whatever those responsibilities are, your rights can be taken away. I mean, what's the connection?
It's like this. Like, I'm a comedian, okay? I have the right, and I feel the responsibility to talk about touchy subjects. Now, that's my view on it. Now, even though I may not break the law per se, I still will be put in a situation and a category of a certain type of comedian. There's only a blue comedian.
Yeah.
You know, and that means, well, they may not restrict me legally, but they will definitely restrict me financially to where I can work, what type of audience, what group I'm okayed in. Even though I could talk about anything, just because I choose to talk about touchy subjects. And the reason I like to talk about them is because they create conversation.
Right.
People need to talk about this kind of stuff. That's my take on comedy. But someone who has a very different take on it will label me, and now all of a sudden I'm only working in the chitlin circuit, or I'm only working in the blues circuit. See, so that's how it gets. And there's no law, there's no council of comedy, but this is just
that's how he's labeled.
That's what I'm labeled, or other comedians, I'd say, anyone, you know.
And you know what? You bring up a great point. Bobby may be able to expound on this with his relationships with, say, Jim Brown, Jerry West, that label isn't just exclusive to comedy. If you're a sports kid and you get labeled, like say you have this in you to stand up and speak your mind, you might be labeled uncoachable. You understand what I'm saying? Just because you speak your mind, right? That can follow you that way too. I think as a society, we really don't have freedom of speech when you start looking at the different layers of how to interface economically, business-wise. This is why you see the highly successful black folk who are educated, they don't speak their real mind. They don't. They'll speak their mind behind closed doors because they don't want to fuck up no opportunities that society has for them. Am I bullshitting, Bobby? Speak on that.
No, it's apparently true, and I guess the thing I'm looking for is the turning point. If someone is daring and courageous enough to speak for a people, like Jim Brown did, like Muhammad Ali did, like Malcolm X did, like Denmark Vesey did, the question becomes, did they create a pathway to freedom, and the sacrifice was their individual freedom? Are we people enough to say, you know what, not only do I agree with that point of view, I'm going to get in the ring with them? Because the other side of that is, white people will do that. If they hear something that resonates with them, they get in with both feet, man, and they drive it to a point where it becomes a consensus. And that's where we fall short as an identifiable group of people known as black, Negro, colored, whatever the flavor of the month may be. And we keep finishing dead last because we will not rally around the truth.
Ooh, say more, Bobby. Damn.
That's simple, man.
We will not rally around the truth. How do we rally? How do we begin to rally around the truth?
Well, just admit it, first of all, and quit playing around with it and whispering it. You know, I really did get down with that, but I'm worried about my job.
Yeah, I can't lose my job over lining up with that.
How long is that going to, last to the point where, I see that happen with people like Tiger Woods, for example. Since Tiger didn't identify with who he really was, he came up with this title, I'm a Cablinasian.
Yeah.
Now, where are all the Cablinasian at now?
Where they at, Bobby?
Yeah, because as soon as he did not subscribe to that mythical persona that he created,
right,
the woman assaulted him. He lost $500 million and ain't won a golf tournament since. Now, my question becomes, was it worth it to give up your true identity long term? Because he got money, but he has zero power.
Right.
Zero power.
And now you can't even go back to your daddy's people.
No.
Who had you in the beginning?
No.
Until you came out with a whole new race category. Cablinasian, what is that?
Got enough problems already, and then you done, confused matters even more. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Oh my God, Talaya.
Yes.
So we played the video. You didn't let your hair down. This is the sister. Did y'all see the shirt I gave Geoff Brown last week?
I did not.
Oh, you were out of town. You weren't here. Nobody was here, goddammit. This is the sister who created this line of shirts, right? She sent me a beautiful line of shirts. What's the name of the shirts and what is the website? I think it's Ricasa.com. Am I correct?
It's RicasaNation.com.
RicasaNation.com. Could you spell that out for our listeners who can go there and support your work?
Yes, it's REKASA Nation.com.
Wow, that's good stuff. So she is friends with the brother, the young brother that was on the campus, explaining why he walked on the flag. Now this brother then got scooped up. He in prison.
For what? What's the charge?
For walking on the flag.
No, man. People burning the flag all the time. It's got to be something else. What's the charge?
So she was in correspondence or is in correspondence with this brother right now. So what is his status and what are the charges on him?
Well, like I said, someone decided to make a phone call to the police and stated that he was making threats. You all have the ability to listen. He never made a threat, not once. After he was questioned by the cops and after he left the campus, the police mysteriously found a backpack on campus with a gun in it. they're also saying that the backpack also contained the receipt of the purchase of the gun. And they are supposedly linking that to Eric Shepherd. They have not shown any pictures of the gun. They haven't shown the receipt, anything that may show like his name, if he used a debit card or anything. And what I find really interesting is that if Eric Shepherd would have brought a backpack with a gun in it to the rally, why would he forget, of all things, why would he not pick up that backpack when it was time to leave?
Wow.
So they didn't find this backpack until he was off campus, which gave them all the time in the world to go to the media and paint this picture of him as a terrorist. They used words like he should be considered armed and dangerous, he's at large, all of the right terms to justify shooting him on sight. So when he saw what was taking place, he went on the run. So basically the charge that he's currently incarcerated for right now is bringing a weapon on campus. But they have yet to...
And he was a student, right?
Yes, he was a student at Valdosta State.
What state?
Georgia.
Okay.
You know how Georgia get down, too.
Georgia ain't no different from California.
Georgia's a problem, too, when it comes to that. You know?
That's a misconception. New York is like Valdosta. Los Angeles is like Valdosta. It's just pockets of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave out of L.A. and go out in the hinterland. You're going to think you're in Valdosta. You know?
I mean, it's a tough situation, man. For me, to protest, to express, right? Because if you can censor a speech, you can censor art. Now, they've been trying to censor hip-hop for years. Now,
since day one.
Since day one. But when hip-hop got political, right? When it got political, when it got cultural, they had to change the narrative from uplifting, cooperative, to gangbanging.
Right.
They had to do that.
Dope selling.
They had to do that. They had to glorify that, right? That's the same movement they made from Shaft to Superfly. They had to do that. Because if I empower you through music, through expression, through art, I may be able to motivate you to change the way you've been thinking. No, I can't have you think higher. I have to have you think within a box. And that's the only way I can really and truly control you, if I control the ideas that you have access to. We have to understand that this is how you control a society. If everybody had free thought and free speech for real, imagine what kind of original thought you might have. Talk to 10 people and see how similar they are. If you go to a particular culture, if it's a Spanish culture, talk to 10 people, see how similar they are. You go to African culture, talk to 10 people, see how similar they are. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Educated Negroes in America, talk to them, see how similar they are.
You know, you bring up a good point about original thought, because when you go back to where does our thinking come from? You know, how original is it? I mean, we're born into a group of values, we're born into a culture, we're born into a mindset, and the whole idea is, how can you be original when before you even know it, you've been programmed?
Wow. It's crazy. That's crazy. Listen, we got to take a quick break. I hear the music. We'll be back at 2.2, the Freedom of Speech Show. You can't say that. We'll be back.
This is what your Facebook friend who thinks you're sharing too much on Facebook wants to tell you. You're making an idiot out of yourself. You're being an exhibitionist every time you show these weird pictures, these pictures when you're drunk, and you think you're showing off and you're saying, look at me, look at me. And what happens is when people look at you, they just think you're being foolish. And I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I saw just a whole nother volley of your pictures. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It's not working for you. You're embarrassing yourself. If you like this and you want to see more and hear more, please support my page.
You guys got to support Dr. G. Where can they find that? Those small little micro episodes. Where do they find that?
If you go to Patreon, patreon.com, patreon.com/Dr. Mark Goulston, we're collecting, these are conversation catalysts. The last one was what your teenager who won't talk to you wants you to know, and it's about a teenager who's in a very bad place, maybe could be a shooter, and the idea is you give these to people to see if you can start a conversation. That's why we call them conversation catalysts, and and in the next one we have another one coming up. What your workaholic dad who blew it wants you to know, and that's about a dad who at the end of his life said, I didn't focus on what was important to me, and as a result, I don't know my family. My family doesn't know me, and the only kind of love I have in the world is the love you buy, and it wasn't worth it.
Wow. Let me ask you all this question. Go ahead, Bobby.
In lieu of Jeff's rant, I want to get this off my chest. These marches, cancel them. All that praying, change the narrative of that too. Ask God for the strength to pass the ammunition. And the next time somebody go in one of our churches, defend that sanctuary as though it was just that, a sanctuary. Jesse, sit down. Al, please, go away. We need new leadership starting right now, and it should be an individual decision to think for yourself and represent your own personal interests, because what's happening in this country right now is a reflection of the evil that hate has produced, and somebody's got to put a stop to it.
And it really takes us back to Malcolm X. It really takes us back to Malcolm X being, you gonna keep fucking with us, we gonna respond, right? That's where Malcolm was. Malcolm was, everything's cool until you disrespect, and disrespect means you physically harm our woman, you physically harm our children. So to me, it's all really a contrived build up because they want a particular kind of response, and I believe when they get the response they're looking for, martial law, like they need the Constitution to really just go away so they can do what they really want to do. Freeze?
You know, you say you just said, when are we going to rally around the truth? Right now, this young brother right here, what is his name? Who's on the run?
Eric.
Eric. Right now, this is a young black male that took a stand. He took a stand in a peaceful manner. He took a stand for his beliefs. He exercises freedom of speech, and now he's seen the repercussions of it. We should be rallying around him. We should be letting the call go out. This guy is not a terrorist. This guy did not oppose a threat on people. This guy simply made a statement that he believes in, and it's the truth because he believes in it. We should be supporting him right now, but we're not. We're thinking, oh, this is just another situation. We're just falling into the same belief that we're angry about. If the truth is right in front of you right now.
Wow.
Emotion is just that. It's unsustainable. We stay mad for about 15 minutes.
Right.
And I find it ironic that this kid in South Carolina held on to an emotion because it became more of an emotion. It became a manifesto for him. His response to the Trayvon Martin case, it stayed with him all of these years. I hadn't heard Trayvon's name till he brought it up, which speaks to how differently we view the same set of facts.
Right.
And you said something a minute ago about martial law. That's the last thing they want. You can't conduct commerce in martial law.
That's true.
They have to make this money. The worst thing that could happen to this economy is martial law. So, but short of that, they want to continue, and I don't even like using that word they, because they're individuals that can be isolated and targeted and defeated. I'm going to always come back to that because we done made this man much bigger than he really is. He's flawed. He's making all kind of mistakes, and we have perpetuated supremacy by even using that word.
But you know what? It comes back to this. It comes back to there are some affluent blacks in America today. Probably more affluent blacks in America today than there have ever been. They got to get that up. They got to step out in harm's way.
No, they don't. You know what they got to do?
To them.
No, they don't. You know what we have to do? We have to hold them accountable.
But to them,
they ain't gonna do. Why would they do anything? They winning. They having the best of both worlds.
Right.
You know, they got white folk money, and they still black, and they ain't doing shit to help black folk.
Wow.
Why would they do anything different? We have to do something different.
What should we do regarding them?
Hold them accountable.
And what is the best way to do that?
Accountable to what?
Okay, stop buying their jerseys. Stop buying their albums. Stop supporting the ways in which they have become enriched at our expense.
Good
No
stuff.
sense in wearing no jersey of somebody that'll get on television and bow their head when something happened or when we need them to speak on it because they stuck the microphone in their face and they didn't do nothing to support us. Then we remove our support. We can't support Obama as long as he gets up there and talks around the issue. He mentioned everything but the truth. He said he knew those people in that church. He knew them personally, but he didn't call them what they were. Black folks. This was a racial crime. Anything short of that, he's not representing our interests. He's not representing the truth.
Right.
So yank that support from his ass.
But isn't it interesting how they create a problem and then they want you to tell them what the solution is so they could provide it? Right?
When you say who, you.
Yeah, what do you mean? Who
I'm talking about I'm talking about the people who orchestrate society, the culture builders, right? Social engineers, right? Those people. And they do this very, very effectively. I can knock down some buildings and make it look like some terrorist did it. And then come back and have you clamoring for me to take away some civil liberties so you can feel safe.
Right, and charge you for
it. I can do that.
Right.
I can do the same thing in this situation.
And it's going to get done simply because the people do not have the will to just say, I'm not going to wait on somebody else to fix it. I'm not going to wait on Jesse. I'm not going to wait on Obama. I'm not going to wait on anybody. I got skin in the game. That's the key to breaking this cycle, is to act like you got skin in the game.
And hold each other, and not just, like you said, the blacks with money, and hold them accountable. We got to hold the other one, the ones without us without money. Hold us accountable.
That's what the power is.
Right.
Around the, just like, for instance, in Philly and what was the other city? Was it Detroit? Where they had right after the 9 people were killed in South Carolina, there was 2 incidents on basketball courts where 9 people, in both incidents, 9 people were wounded. 1 person was killed, but they were both in the inner city at a basketball game. Somebody came to the basketball game and got to shooting at the games. And they were like states apart. I think one was Detroit and one was Philly, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I might be wrong on that. But the thing is, it's like, we're as wrong as it was. We're up in arms about it. Oh, but then right here it goes on again, and we don't even pay attention to it. We're being manipulated when we care about one more than the other. They're both extremely wrong.
But the way to keep a society confused is to have raging stereotypical contradictions, raging ideological contradictions. For instance, freedom of speech is encouraged in the universities. They encourage debate. No, you come with your antithetical idea.
Challenge authority.
Please, right? You get that revolutionary guy in the college setting. But that revolutionary, antithetical, oppositional kind of thought process does not go with corporate America. If your ass is not in alignment with the corporate bylaws of where you work, that's your job. Get your ass out of here. So that's the best way to keep people confused.
Well, I want to commend Dr. Goulston. I think it was, was it Eric Brown, when you said that black people should short the stock market?
Yeah.
I ain't heard a peep about that. And that was the most powerful thing then and now that we could do. Because we done tried everything else. We ain't took that money off the table.
Wow.
Take that money off the table.
That's really the real deal.
Game.
Talaya, we're going to come back to you in a second. We're about to take a quick break. When we come back, more on the freedom of speech topic. So what? You can't say that.
Screen. 4chan has used words and symbolism not to define itself but to keep out the people that have failed to understand them in real life. People that don't get their jokes and fail to grasp the simple ideas spread around. Maybe the Twitter account posting swastikas just wanted to offend you and keep you out of their mentions. Recently Anon_Central was suspended for ugly D0-shing someone. First off, the person posting most of that was being an idiot, but they didn't D0X anyone. What was posted was a link that was in the top search on Google.com. They also did not create the images posted. Were they suspended for linking content that already existed? Are you going to be happy when you get suspended for posting a link that you found on Google? Did they cause you to have feels and butt thirds? Or did they create a platform in which people discussed other relevant issues about rape that rarely get discussed, even the negatives?
Earlier this month, we ran a story on Senator Ed Markey's The Hate Crime Reporting Act of 2014. The legislation proposes updating 20-year-old report on the role of internet, radio, and TV that they allegedly play in encouraging hate crimes based on gender, race, religion, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. And Mark Slavo writes, combined with the new WebBot hate speech tools, could the government then preempt detention and arrest under the Patriot Act or the National Defense Authorization Act, both of which allow for action to be taken against those who threaten national security, yet another broadly defined term. And that's a very good point, because we see this administration doing everything they can possibly do to get into just the lives of everybody, whether it's the FCC in the newsroom or now the hate speech on the internet. Oh, you don't like Obama's drone policy? Oh, you're a racist. Or you don't like Mrs. Clinton lying about Benghazi, or at least not doing everything in her power to prevent the situation. Oh, now you're a sexist. And that's the same thing that we're going to see here. They're just going to continue to ratchet up more and more, so where everybody's just shook, afraid to put out anything on the internet. This is the internet censorship, and we'll be giving you more of these reports as they develop at Infowars.com.
It's a lot going on in the world, man. I keep telling people, if you get the Black's Law Dictionary and you look up the legal term for freedom and you look up the legal term for liberty, they have two different definitions. The legal term for freedom is unconditional freedom. That means you have no use for a government. You cannot be governed. It means totally free, no restraints, no conditions whatsoever. You look up the word liberty, it means freedom within constraints. Diet freedom, so to speak.
Right. Freedom light.
Freedom light. Say something we don't like and you're going to see the limits of that freedom.
That's real.
This is where we live in America today. It's always been this way. And I know it's frustrating, but the reality of it is this is a society of pretense. You can call it politically correct, but it's really a society of pretense, which is predicated on not telling the truth. We know. There are some things you can say that'll start some shit, right? We know there's consequences to everything you say. However, if we stay in a position of let's control the word and let's not teach consequence, right?
Right.
See, to me, say what you want, but teach consequence, right? Understand that. Say what you will, but teach we don't do that. We don't do that, right? Because if you allow people to say what they will, now we can plant seeds in the spirit and birth original thinking outside of the authority.
This is a little bit of humor in this thing. I'm not a comedian, you know, but I remember a guy telling me about this conversation he had with his teenager, and his teenager was really pushing him. You know, I want to do this, and I promise I will take full responsibility for it. Let me do this. And his father said, well, what does full responsibility mean? Do you know that it means that if it goes south, if it doesn't work out, you have to pay the consequences, you have to make it right, and you have to do you have to pay anyone that is hurt in a bad way. And the son said, well, I didn't say that. And so father said, so what does paying the consequences mean if it doesn't go right? He said, I'll say I'm sorry.
Wow. I'll just say I'm sorry and it's done.
Yeah.
Talaya?
Hey, Talaya, go ahead.
You have any final thoughts before we wrap you on this?
Or sounds off?
We can't hear, bro. Hold on 1 second, Talaya. We got to make sure you're... Oh, that was you. Okay, come on. Talk to us. You have any final thoughts before we wrap you?
Well, Eric Shepherd is still behind bars. Finally granted him bail, which I believe is $25,000. I'm not sure. I saw an article.
25,000.
But it might. Yeah, he's currently
so Talaya. So Talaya, let's do this. Let me ask you this: you're in correspondence with him, right?
No, I haven't spoken with EJ since the day that he got caught.
My thing is, can somebody set up a GoFundMe Indiegogo page? Because you see it happen for shooters.
Right.
Well,
can somebody do that?
We had numerous crowdfunding accounts, which were all removed, except for Indiegogo. The GoFundMe account was taken down, as well as a few others, because they stated that it was against their policy to raise money for those who may be guilty of a crime.
What?
So we do have a website, though. We do have a website.
What is it?
People can donate directly to a PayPal account that belongs to Eric Shepard's mother.
Mm-hmm.
That website is defendej.weebly.com.
Spell Weebly?
WEEBLY.
Wow.
You can go there and click on the Buy Now button, and you can donate to the PayPal account, which is directly linked with his mother's account, so she can help take care of his legal fees.
Wow. The brother needs your help. Let me just say, I really appreciate you for taking the time, to share your story, your experience with the brother. One more time, please tell people where to find you and your website and support your goods, because she does more than just shirts. She's into advocacy. She works in the community. But where can they find you, and how do they support your movement as well?
You can support me by checking out my fashion website, which is recasa.com, Recasa Nation, REKASA Nation.com. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Netert Talaya. Netert is Netert. Talaya is Talaya.
Wow. Let me just say, I really appreciate you taking the time out this morning to tune into the show and share your information and your knowledge. I hope everybody supports your movement and everything that you're doing. Stay connected with her on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm sure she has all of the social media locked up. Please support her and support Eric. He needs your help for sure. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's start winding it down. Bobby said we got to change the narrative, right?
Well, the best way for me to explain that is this. If that boy's in jail with a $25,000 bail, then either we don't believe in him and his purpose, or we are the most shameful people on the planet Earth. It just gets to a point where we got to start putting our money where our mouth is. It's too easy, man, to just keep on, well, that ain't right. No, skin in the game.
Hey, you know how black folk are, especially those who got a little something.
They ain't gonna make it, man. I'm telling you, they're holding on to nothing.
They don't know that, though.
They're gonna find out.
They don't know that. Freeze?
Hey, I just say, like you were saying, responsibility. Be responsible. If you're saying something that is hurtful to people, then there's a chances are maybe you shouldn't say it. And I mean, you should just be responsible. I mean, figure out what's worth hurting somebody for. Is it to get a laugh? Is it to motivate people? And some people who are trying to oppress people, maybe they get their feelings hurt. Hey, then hurt some feelings. I don't know, but be responsible. Think about it. That's all I'm saying. Think about it. Think about it outside of just you.
You know, this. What's the golden rule? Do unto others the way you'd have them do unto you. Is that what it is?
That's the golden rule.
So maybe the thing is, before you say something that could be hurtful to someone else, ask yourself, what would I feel like if someone did that to me? And the point is, if you can't take it, you don't have the right to dish it out.
Wow. Yeah, I can live with that. But I'm going to say this. Sometimes you got to get in a motherfucker's face. Sometimes you got to confront somebody, right? Sometimes you got to challenge the norm. You made a statement about the swastika. The swastika is only evil if I believe a particular narrative, right? If I go back before the Holocaust, right? The swastika was a spiritual symbol to the Hindus. Do I have to accept just the Jewish Holocaust version of the swastika? Can I say, no, I don't want that version. I don't want that narrative. I want this narrative. And damn you and fuck all those who say different. Can I do that? Can I also say, I'm not talking about the Spanish breakdown of the word nigga or negro. I'm talking about Nigeria, negus, negus, Ethiopia, Africa, the ancient Nagas. I'm talking about what it really meant and when it meant God. I'm talking about that. Can I choose that? And can I propagate that? Now, understand, if I propagate something that goes against a narrative, please make no mistake. These motherfuckers done put money behind the narrative. They done paid for this history to be retold in the way that they want it to be spoken. You understand? Napoleon didn't just say history is a group of lies agreed upon for nothing. Who sat down at the table of history to agree upon a false narrative? Now, at some point, as a people, we got to stand up and say, fuck you and the false narrative. We're the authors of our shit right now. At some point.
That's a great point. And for the first time probably in many years, the name Denmark Vesey came up. If we had propagated Denmark Veseys, then that church would not have experienced the horror that it did last Wednesday night. I guarantee you that.
Wow, wow, wow. Listen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be back in 2.2 seconds. Holla!
Anthony Elonis claimed he was just kidding when he posted a series of graphically violent rap lyrics on Facebook about killing his estranged wife, shooting up a kindergarten class, and attacking an FBI agent. But his wife didn't see it that way, and neither did a federal jury. Elonis, who's from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, was convicted of violating a federal law that makes it a crime to threaten another person. In a far-reaching case that probes the limits of free speech over the internet, the Supreme Court on Monday was to consider whether Elonis' Facebook posts and others like it deserve protection under the First Amendment.
Yeah, I mean, freedom of speech is about if someone says something which is controversial and sensitive, someone else has got the absolute right to be able to counter that with what they think is right or wrong. What I find fascinating about these discussions is trying to draw a line of, you know, what is religious tolerance versus how you can arrest someone for inciting hatred, extremism, or violence. And I think when we're talking about, for instance, the new laws that France imposed in November on hate speech, whether that be verbal, which if charged in a court of law you can get 5 years and a $90,000 fine, or if it's on the internet it's $120,000, 7 years. But how do you actually apply that law? Well, and that's the difficulty. And so just when we're talking about these additional laws, we've also got to think about the secondary and tertiary consequences of implementing them, i.e. you are going to need increased resources. How do you, it's all very well implementing a law, but how do you police that law? And that has a huge budget that comes with it, a huge manpower requirement, a huge resource requirement, and there are additional factors that need to be.
How sure am I of my own views? Don't take refuge in the false security of consensus and the feeling that whatever you think, you're bound to be okay because you're in the safely moral majority. One of the proudest moments of my life, that's to say, in the recent past, has been defending the British historian David Irving, who is now in prison in Austria for nothing more than the potential of uttering an unwelcome thought on Austrian soil. He didn't actually say anything in Austria. He wasn't even accused of saying anything. He was accused of perhaps planning to say something that violated an Austrian law that says only one version of the history of the Second World War may be taught in our brave little Tyrolean republic. The republic that gave us Kurt Waldheim as Secretary General of the United Nations, a man wanted in several countries for war crimes. You know, the country that has Jörg Haider, the leader of its own fascist party, in the cabinet that sent David Irving to jail. You know the two things that have made Austria famous, given it its reputation, by any chance? Just while I've got you. I hope there are some Austrians here to be upset by it. Well, a pity if not, but the two great achievements of Austria are to have convinced the world that Hitler was German and Beethoven was Viennese. Now to this proud record they can add, they have the courage finally to face their past and lock up a British historian who's committed no crime except that of thought and writing. And that's a scandal. And I can't find a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't...
So we just got word that Senator Leslie Graham just, I guess put down the mandate that they got to take down the Confederate flag. Let me speak on why I'm for and against that. First and foremost, this show was attacked by motherfuckers playing games.
At the end of the day, it's time
right?
for people in South Carolina.
Hey, turn that down. This show was attacked. First of all, do you know how important this show is? This is a forum that allows voices from all over the place, divergent perspectives, to come here and share their thought. This show was attacked by a weak-minded little girl. Well, it was a man. I have the right to say that. It's free speech, right? It was attacked, right? I was accused of making a death threat. See, we have those kind of people in our community, right? That will attack a resource that the community needs in order to get to the next level of evolution. I don't make videos about people. I'm not that kind of man. Right? I'm a face-to-face man. I'm a man that if you have a problem with me, I'll give you my number. You call me, we talk. Or I can see you personally and we work it out. We have an issue in our community that prevents us from being authentic and real. We don't speak up and we don't stand for anything that is in alignment with the truth. Because if there's any self-interest involved, we will sell ourselves in order to get that. And that's what puts us in a very problematic position in America. We have a president that refuses to stand up and say, all this shit is wrong. I am the president of everybody, but in particular, the way y'all handling my people is fucked up. It's okay to say that as the president. In my opinion, it's okay to say the way you handling African Americans is wrong. Police officers or police forces around the nation, the way y'all handle them is wrong. It's okay for him to say that. It's okay for him to stand up and say, the judiciary, the way you dole out sentences and bails, it's disproportionate and that's wrong. It's okay for him to say that. Why doesn't he say it? Why instantly when Bruce Jenner comes out as Caitlyn, he comes out and goes, you're a hero. But he won't come out and say, wow, why did this little boy who killed 9 people in a church, why was his bail set at $1 million and Suge Knight's set at $25 million? Why don't you speak on that? Again, we live in a society, and I'm talking about black people, just y'all, us, a society of cowards. We won't tell the truth about nothing. Freedom of speech to me, as Bobby been saying this for a long time, freedom of speech to me equals owning and creating your own social narrative. And when that social narrative is challenged, you stand up for it. No. This is what we believe. This is our belief. Not, well, make sure you're in alignment because otherwise things ain't going to go your way. Something can happen to you. It's 2015. We are moving at such a rate in a different, I'm talking about time, technology. We are moving at high level right now. Fast speed, quantum speed, and we got old ass Stephen Django type philosophy in place. You're living in a time of a technological revolution, but you got prehistoric, you understand what I'm saying? Ideological and sociological ideas. I was with a brother the other day. He talking about the difference between the northern frat and the southern frat, and how, there's even classism amongst them. Oh, you're not in alignment with the original principles of the frat. And what school do you go to? You mean to tell me y'all done turned that into gangs? That was supposed to be designed for the upliftment of black folk through the educational system. And you mean to tell me y'all even finding differences with each other? Y'all supposed to be the talented 10th. The talented imps. The talented simps. The talented wimps. You're afraid to speak, but you want to idolize Mandela. You idolized Mandela after he was old and feeble and had to make a deal with South Africa just so he can quiet the people down. You were afraid to align yourself with the young Mandela who blew up shit. Right? That Mandela. You didn't want to talk about him. You want to talk about the old one after 27 years in jail. That's who you want to align yourself with, right? You okay with Martin having a birthday celebration in America, a holiday, but you not okay with Malcolm having one. Right? You okay with that, but you ain't gonna bang for Malcolm. Hey, we need Malcolm's birthday too. You won't bang for that. We are a culture of placaters, pretentious placaters, refusing to support black business. Yeah, some of our black businesses got shitty customer service and products too. Yep, I'm not asking you to support them. You see, I don't support certain people on this show no more. Get your motherfucking customer service together, nigga. I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you don't see the product on my show no more, that means customer service is bullshit. You feel me? Yeah, but we still gotta support. We still gotta do right by folk, don't we? I asked you to support a book. I asked you to support a tour. I asked you to support other people. Why? Because there's power in numbers, but you're afraid to let go of your slice of illusion. You're afraid to let go of your slice of inclusion. But it's coming. A time is coming where, because you can see it. You can see it happening right now. A boy come right out and say, I did this to start a race war. Well, whose side you gonna be on? Inclusive? What side you think they gonna see you as? Weak people, man. Weak people. You feel me? Tried to destroy the show with a letter to the CEO. Zoe said he was going to kill me. I don't even talk like that, but I'll say it again. We need to check people in our community. We need to check them. And you know what check them mean? Don't write a check to them. How about that? Don't support them. How about that? How about it? I'm Zoe Williams, and that's my final thought. Listen, Bobby G, real men ain't never played around with none of that bullshit. Where do they find your book, man?
You can get it through my website, www.realmendon'tplay.com, or you can go to Amazon and see the 5 stars that some folks submitted because they read it and felt it and know that it ain't about me, it's about the people that I've had the pleasure of knowing, and I represent them fully. And one final thought on that, The great thing about writing a book is not like food. It ain't gonna spoil. It'll keep. It'll be there when you get there.
I love it, Bobby. We welcome you back every time. Freeze, where can they find you?
Man, you can get my app. Please download my free app. It's Freez Luv, FREEZLUV. And also, you could see me on July 15th at the Brea Improv. So come out there to the Brea Improv July 15th and laugh hard. I promise you. Guaranteed laughs.
Yes, sir. And please, 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 go right now. Call to action. Go to my website, IamZoeWilliams.com, and pre-order your copy of The Relationship Dismount. Due date July 1st. I need you to support this right now. Go there right now. Call to action. This is how we come up as a people. We support each other. You got something that I should support? You got a black business you think I should promote? Hit me on my email, 2319zo1@gmail.com. 2319zo1@gmail.com. I'll support you. You support me. That's what we doing. I'll see y'all next week with another barn burner. Support that book, Relationship Dismount. Deuces.